Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 518 for the 26th of July. And I got to change the rules in terms of which message, which comment I will pin. No, you have to promote the channel, tell people to subscribe, and tell people to press the like button. The first one to do it, or maybe the one that do the best within the first 5 minutes, I will pin your message. So anyway, let's start off with Snake Island. The Russian forces have finally struck the Snake Island again. This island have not been in the news for a very long time, and there is this confirmation from the pro-Russian source Ryba reporting that they have managed to confirm the information. The Russian Air Force dropped several FAB 500 kg bombs on the island, and this, given the size of the island, as they say, and the explosive power of the bombs, it looks like everything will be flattened on the island. There will be no more snakes on the island. So this is very interesting why this had happened. I'm not sure what the Ukrainians have positions on the island. I do not know what they have deployed there that requires to be bombed so completely, because one FAB could easily destroy the one entire this entire area, this entire building over here. This entire building will be gone. So when you talk about dropping several, I think they are totally going to wipe out like everything. Like here, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone, this is gone. But of course, these buildings are already flattened at the first place, so not sure what is the target over there. So moving on from the southern front, we go into the Zaporizhzhia Front, and where the Ukrainian launched their massive offensive, which the Pentagon dubbed it as the main thrust. And they thrust it really hard because the attack is reported even by the Russian Defense Ministry with like a dedicated portion for it. So they say that the Ukrainians launched a massive attacks with the force of 3 battalions reinforced with tanks. And so the Ukrainians met the 810 Marine Brigade and the 71st Motorized Rifle Regiment of the 42nd Motorized Rifle Division. They managed to repel the Ukrainian attack, and this Ukrainian attack is massive. I almost never see this kind of numbers in terms of the Russian Defense Ministry reports the aftermath of a battle. Like you probably would have known by now that I do not really take this kind of numbers very seriously, because propaganda, information, maybe mistakes, these kind of numbers tend to be not accurate in terms of casualties and destroyed. But just by the mere numbers being quoted, you can really tell this battle is really big. 22 tanks. Since when is the last battle Ukrainian lost, at least according to the Russians, 22 tanks in a single place? Not even in the early part of this Zaporizhzhia offensive. And 10 infantry fighting vehicles, probably referring to Bradleys, and 1 armored fighting vehicles. This is the MRAP type of vehicle, and more than 100 soldiers has been killed. But allegedly, we have no idea. So this is a very massive attack. This attack was reported by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reporting that in their early information at noon, the day before, they already reported that the Ukrainians have already lost 25 vehicles. And northeast of Robotyne alone, 4 tanks was destroyed, including 1 Leopard, and they also captured some Ukrainian soldiers. And they also indicated that they saw 10 Army Corps troops, which is what they indicated in their intel as a reserve force meant to attack into Tokmak. So Tokmak is actually here. This is Tokmak. So the reserve force is supposed to attack all the way to Tokmak. So there's a push, breakthrough, and then the reserve force will push all the way to Tokmak. That was the plan. And of course, given the number of defense line, this is never going to happen. And according to the information as per the noon time yesterday, they say that the Ukrainian forces are already trying to evacuate their troops in this defense line in the northeast of Robotyne. So the Russian forces are attacking them. So the attack, so usually in military wise, we always launch morning attacks, dawn attacks. So before the sun even come out, we start to do offensive actions. So like the operations tend to start at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or latest 7 a.m. And as you fight on, the day get brighter and brighter, and by noon time, this operation has already failed. And so based on the latest information, as per noon in Ukraine, the Ukrainians are back again, but this time around they only say that as per 6 a.m. as I mentioned, there is morning dawn attack. They only have the infantry group from the 33rd Mechanized Brigade trying to attack to get a stronghold, get a foothold on the forest belt northeast of Robotyne. So far, it was not successful. And then, so the forest belt is probably not too sure exactly where it's referring to. We're not sure if is this the one, or they are talking about this entire forest region. Is unclear. but as far as my monitoring goes, it seems that the Ukrainians have not really fully controlled this trench line that is part of the first line of defense of the Russians. And then they also indicated that despite that the entire massive attack has failed, then they revert back to their infantry attack. There is a massive Ukrainian force that is being accumulated north of Robotyne. And based on intelligence, Russian intelligence, they noted there are Leopard tanks, Bradleys, and Kozak armored fighting vehicles. So Russian artillery and Lancet are currently trying to take them out, and at least 2 armored vehicles has been confirmed to be destroyed according to the pro-Russian sources. So while the Ukrainians are gathering in the north, the Russians, once they attack them, start to shell them. And this is the problem with modern warfare, because you need to gather in order to have a big armored feast in order to punch through the defense line. But in the modern warfare, due to availability of drones, you can't really gather your force very easily, and then you start to get shelled, by drone strikes, artillery strike, air strikes, and it seems like the Ukrainians, is struggling to build up the same number of force they have, and then try to push again. Maybe this new force that they are gathering is even bigger. We're not sure, but the Ukrainians have not given up their main thrust against Robotyne. So, but it must be quite painful because it's a robot. So, yeah, I'm not into this kind of kink. And so the Russian Defense Ministry, I mentioned this attack, so it does shows that this attack is quite big. And but the Russian Defense Ministry did not mention Robotyne. In fact, in the Robotyne report, they not really, but they say that it's like they only mentioned in the direction Orikhiv sector. So according to the information from Ryba, they say that there is fighting in the area of Mala-Tomashka as part of this offensive, which means that the Ukrainian attack is not just over here where they are trying to attack in this area here, but probably they are also attacking in other areas around Mala-Tomashka. So the Russian lines, unfortunately for the Ukrainians, held, and yeah, it seems really painful to not have a breakthrough at all, given the size of the attack. So how are you going to ever break through? I have no freaking ideas. Like 100, I believe that the rumors that I saw is around 100 vehicles in this attack. We have like 20% or 30% of the vehicles have been destroyed. So it does seems to corroborate with previous offensive. 20-30% of the vehicles get destroyed in an offensive. This number seems to corroborate, and so perhaps the Ukrainians need 1,000 tanks, 1,000 armored vehicles to make a push. Maybe that will work. I'm not sure. So there is also reports of us probing over at Lukhivsky, just nearby, further up north, in the eastern part of Mala-Tomashka. So the Ukrainian forces make some probe in this area here. So nothing much about that. At the Kayamsky sector, there's nothing already. There's no fighting over here. Nothing at Huaypoli also. So this entire area here, the focus is mainly only in this main thrust. Yeah. So it does, looks like a main thrust. Over at the Velika Novosilka sector in the Zaporizhzhia Front, we have fighting reported at Staromayorsk. According to the Vostok group of forces, the spokesman, they mentioned that the Ukrainians launched several attacks against Staromayorsk. So did not work out. I'm not sure. It seems like it didn't work out. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry instead says that it's the Russians that launched an attack to recover lost positions. So it might be the same thing. It might be the Ukrainian attack did not work out, the Russian counterattack, and then both sides reported that they were the one defending. That is possible. So over at the Priorny region, the Russian Defense Ministry reports that there is Ukrainian attempt at combat reconnaissance towards Priorny, and so there is an attack against Priorny. So far also didn't seem to work out. So that's all from the Velika Novosilka sector. Moving on, we go to the Svatove Front. This is Svatove, and where this the other area where a lot of interest and attention is. The Russian forces currently holding the line that they have captured. There is fighting. There is counter fighting. According to information from Ryaba. So Russian Defense Ministry reported fighting at Raihorodka, which is over here. So the Ukrainians are launching counterattacks in this area here. The latest front line have from, I believe, Ryaba, if I'm not wrong, shows that the front line is something like this. Oh no, Surya maps. So it's from this water body going along the road, which means the Russian forces captured this road region, going all the way up to this border line and Luhansk Kharkiv border. There is also fighting reported east of Petroshavneve, according to Surya maps, and so the fighting is currently ongoing. The Ukrainians are trying to counterattack against the Russian forces, and however, the situation in Nadia is becoming more and more vague. According to Deep State UA, they say that they kind of backtracked a bit because previously they mapped it as has been captured by Russia, but now they have pull back a bit and say that this is now a gray zone. So the Nadia is currently gray zone, and this is actually echoed by Ryba, the pro-Russian source as well. They say that while there are reports that the Ukrainian forces have left Nadia, and then the so-called the village was under the control of the Russians, they have no confirmation of this information. They cannot confirm this information, and they believe that the Ukrainian forces have control over some of the hills around the region, which allows fire control over the village. So because of the fire control, it's unlikely that the Russians have control of Nadia. So we shall see how this goes. Tentatively, I will still keep the map as per this because no one knows exactly fully what is the real situation is like. A lot of conflicting information. The Russian Defense Ministry updated their information. Previously, they mentioned they have captured Serhievka, and which is Sergeyevka, and they have updated and corroborated the information from pro-Russian sources and neutral sources that the advance is in an additional 3 kilometers. So which means that from the yesterday's 2 kilometers which they reported capturing Serhievka in 2 kilometers, they have now pushed another 3 kilometers, making it 5 kilometers, which is exactly what we have reported as per OSIN, open source intelligence. And there is fighting reported at Sverdlovskibove. So this is so hard to pronounce. The Ukrainian forces managed to hold the Russians. The Russians still have not captured Sverdlovskibove. So reinforcement has been reported around this region here. So the Ukrainians are trying to hold the line. We're not sure how this goes. So let's see again. Ukrainian reinforcement managed to stabilize the line 2 kilometers west of Nadia. 2 kilometers west of Nadia. So if you take the ruler, 2 kilometers. So yeah, that's basically where the front line is. So the Ukrainian forces actually reinforced this area as a priority first. But I believe that there is reinforcement over at Sverdlovskibove as well. Let's see how this goes. And moving on, from the Svatove Front, further up north in the Svatove Front, there is fighting reported south of Novoselivsky. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that the Russians are attacking south of the town, which is very flattened by now. So that's all. We haven't really heard of fighting over at this region for a few days already. Moving away, we have nothing over at the Kupiansk front. The whole region turns really quiet. We go into the Kreminna Front, which is where the next. Actually, this is not where the next biggest fighting, but this is also one of the big fighting happening. We have massive fighting within the Siversk forestry. Russian Defense Ministry reported Ukrainian attacks within the Siversk forestry, and the Ryba reported that the Russians actually made advance towards the western side again, in the western direction, and managed to capture several positions again. The Ukrainians did try to counter-attack, but did not work out, and so far a lot of positional fighting. So it's still ongoing. We're not sure where the front line actually is, despite we keep seeing information about Russians capturing defensive positions, but nobody know where the front line is. Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians attack in the south of Dibrova, and this is a continuation of previous reports as well. And I wonder if the front line is actually here. Given the fact that they keep talking about Russian advances, maybe the front line is already south of Dibrova, which is why the Ukrainians say that the fighting is currently ongoing south of here. So I'm not sure. There's also attacks fighting reported at Terny. This is a continuation of previous probing attacks in this region here, and that's all from the Kreminna Front. Just off Kreminna Front at Bilohorivka, we have fighting reported at this area here. Russian Defense Ministry reported that the Ukrainians attacked at Bilohorivka. However, information from Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that Russian forces attacked from Shepelivka, and so the Russian forces allegedly attacked in this direction against Ukrainian forces, and the Ukrainian forces are reacting by shelling the Russian forces. That's all we know. So that's all from the Siversk Front. Moving into Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, we go from the north. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry reported that the Russians attacked north of Kromove. So Kromove is over here. We still have not known if the Russians actually captured it. Maybe it's a gray zone, and but we have information that the Russians attacking in the north of it. And this is a much better improvement on the Ukrainian Defense Ministry side, because the past 2 days, the past 2 days of reports are all nonsensical. The location doesn't make sense. Now it seems like they get their act together. Maybe they saw my complaints on Twitter. So yeah, so now we have this proper report. North of Kromove, east of Druzhba, north of Klishchievka, which is actually exactly where the front line is. We have fighting in the north of Klishchievka. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that the Russians are counter-attacking. Interestingly, we have zero information from any other source about fighting around Klishchievka. Suddenly, the Ukrainian offensive in this region is totally unreported. Everybody's focus is at Robotyne in the main thrust. Yeah, it's just kind of weird. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry also mentioned this fighting east of Druzhba, which is likely to be around Mayos region. This is Mayos. This area is Mayos. So the Russians maybe did some counter-attack in this area here, which is exactly east of Druzhba. So that's all from the Bakhmut Front. So that's why I didn't focus on Bakhmut first, because there wasn't any much information here. At the Avdiivka Front, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry go back to their usual, that they say that they defended against Russian attack near the city of Avdiivka, which is likely from the east, but we have no information. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that there is fighting reported at Vodian and Zhivany. So the Ukrainian forces probably attacked against Vodian and Zhivany in this area here. Sorry, this is actually Vasily. Wrong. Vodian is here. Sorry. So the Ukrainians actually focus their attention in this area here to capture this area, but this location is all very heavily defended. A lot of entrenchment, a lot of mines, so it's not going to go very far. And that's all from the Avdiivka Front in the north of Donetsk city. Over at the Donetsk Front itself, we have fighting reported at Marinka. Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Russian Defense Ministry both say that they are the one defending. As usual, we do not know who is the one fighting over, who is the one actually doing the offensive. And we have and the fighting reported north of Mikhailsk. So this is Voleda, this is Mikhailsk, and so the reports says that according to the Russian Defense Ministry, that there's a Ukrainian attack towards Mikhailsk, and it was repelled due to mines. So yeah, this seems like a big attack, but no, not as massive as the one at Robotyne, but it seems interesting. This is actually already second or third time this has been mentioned around this area here, where the Ukrainians tried to attack Volodymyrivka. There was an attempted at Mikhailsk the day before. It was stopped by artillery and airstrikes, and now the Ukrainians tried again, and this time round they got nearer, and they managed to hit the mines. So no, and also they got hit by airstrikes and artillery. So so that's all from the Avdiivka, Donetsk Front. And there's nothing over at the Kherson region over here, and yeah, that's it. Nothing at the Kharkiv front as well, nothing at the border region. So someone also mentioned that in the comments that my conclusions is never really conclusions. My conclusions are usually just me saying goodbye. So I can conclude a bit. I think that the Ukrainian main thrust has failed, like, quite badly, and I believe that what the Ukrainians have believed that the main thrust would do is that the Ukrainians will be able to capture the entire trench line over here. So let's zoom in a bit more. So the Ukrainians will likely take out this entire trench line and develop an attack, and maybe defeat this entrenchment over here, defeat the trench lines, and attack into Robotyne. And at least by this moment, they are currently fighting within Robotyne. And then the reserve force that is currently, we reported that is gathering in the north, will then act as the reserve force to push through, and this allows them to, attack towards Novoprokopivka, maybe bypass or actually wipe out this entrenchment along the way, totally ignoring all these Russian lines, all these all around here. Anyway, this is destroyed, so they can actually penetrate. Yeah, this is probably part of the main thrust, and with this thrust, they will be able to hit through along the highway, and then there's multiple lines of defense. Of course, they have to break through. Then they will actually go for Tokmak and siege Tokmak. They will be able to siege Tokmak, and this entire operation might take a month. But given that the fact that their main armored feast has failed, even in the first line of defense, I have tremendous doubt if they can even break through the lines south of it. So that's the problem. The Russian wise, I think the Russians are currently regrouping, or the over this region here where the Russians have this salient in the Svatove Front. I believe what the Russians are doing is currently regrouping, because the last time we have this pause, there was actually action on the ground that was not reported, and then the next report came out, the Russians make bigger progress again. I suspect this might be the case again, and so the Ukrainians are definitely trying to reinforce, but this region here is very out of the way for the Ukrainians. So trying to reinforce this area must be very, very troublesome. So otherwise, I think the situation at the Bakhmut Front over the south is not really mentioned much. So maybe it's just distraction. The OCs are all focusing on the main thrust. I think the Ukrainians are still pushing. The Russians are not giving up, given the strategic importance of these towns and these settlements. So I believe they will continue to hold. So anyway, is that okay? Is this a conclusion for you? So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the press the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next update.